Good afternoon. I am starving, and my husband is working today, and then he's working overtime because he had to take a sick day the other day and he didn't have any PTO, paid time off, left. And they don't give sick days where he works, it's all PTO. When I used to work at places like, I don't know, Motorola Corporate and McDonnell Douglas, I had 8 sick days a year plus 2 weeks of paid vacation plus all the federal holidays. And if he wants to take a day off on, say, Labor Day, he has to request it way in advance. And it's kind of ironic. And if he doesn't, he has to work, if it's part of his shift, which it is, Mondays. And he does get paid, a lot of money for working on a federal holiday. But it means that if he wants Christmas Day off or New Year's Eve, he has to request it and get in line, and he might or might not get a federal holiday off from work. And then I look at all of my friends and family members celebrating with their family, and where he works, they don't even care about people being at home with their families. They care about getting to work, doing the job, jumping through hoops. And if you don't jump through the right hoops, you don't get your bonus. And they keep changing the metrics on how you get a bonus. So I get a little ticked off at this treatment because I was a union member at one time. And I know this is, it seems like they're encroaching more and more upon workers' rights in this company. It's a customer service job. And yes, there are other jobs, but this, people need benefits. We need health insurance. I'm a writer. I don't have any benefits. And when I don't work, I don't get paid, basically. And I haven't worked for a little while because of all the other things that have been going on in our lives. People dying and moving and, the icky landlord at our former place and her icky tenants below blasting music and having domestic violence arguments and saying, oh, we're not really fighting, we're just passionate. No, this is not something I would put up with. And it's quiet here now. And I'm still very self-conscious about how loud I play my music because this person that lived below me was blasting their stereo, sometimes at 2 in the morning, sometimes at, 1 in the morning, sometimes at noon. I could never tell when it was going to happen, and I was being subjected to sort of an abusive situation, and the landlady would not do a thing. Call the cops. And we had a clause in our lease that if we got the cops called on us for something like a noise violation, they would evict us immediately. Start the procedure. Nobody ever called the cops on us. And I'm telling you, we called 2 or 3 times from March onward and told the landlady, and I said, the reports are at the station, and she said, well, you could just choose not to renew your lease. So now we had to scramble to find a new place to live because she was related to the tenants. And the only reason we re-signed a lease last year was because she promised us they were selling this 2-flat and we would all be on equal footing. And I thought, well, okay, if in that case, I said, but the noise has to stop. And it didn't. Almost right after we signed the lease, this lady kept blasting music. And she told us, in effect, that if we complained to her relative, our landlady, she would have us evicted in the middle of winter. And I'm like, we have a lease. We have a lease. And finally, I just, my husband said, you stay away from my wife. You stop this nonsense, blah, blah, blah. And they were quiet, but, we'd be outside grilling, and this woman and her husband, who was not all there, would come out and start drunkenly soliloquizing, oh, well, you better watch out for that tree. It might fall on your head. We have to worry about the trees falling. And I'm like, what are you talking about? And we just grabbed our food and went inside because I couldn't even be outside the backyard without this guy coming out with the dog, which only was allowed out when it had to go. Never walked. I didn't see him playing with it. And the dog had anxiety. Never barked, but every time it saw another human being, it would wag its tail and be like, pet me, pet me. And I just couldn't stand it anymore. And the place wasn't kept up at all. It was, the railing was rickety, and I kept saying, you know, Robert, if you fall and break one of your hip implants, you know, that's a liability. And they came and pounded a couple nails in, and 2 weeks later it was loose again. So this is what we moved out of. The apartment was large. I liked the largeness of it. I liked that it had closet space. But, you know, how much should people have to put up with before they go insane? And I didn't get a lot of work done because I'd be trying to write at 10 in the morning. Boom, boom, boom. Hear the music. And if I tried to confront her, she was drunk. If I called the cops, they would say, oh, we weren't doing anything. You know, how many times can I call the police on someone before the cops are like, well, why are you still there? It's so bad. You know, I had to leave. We had to spend money that we couldn't afford to move down here. And now we're building it back up, and we're getting a windfall soon, we hope. We've been told. And it's just, you know, I'm just starting to come down from the stress. And I'm like, dang, I'm so glad we're out of there. And these people are okay. The guy came down this morning, his day off. He's going to fix some stuff. He's going to get a new furnace put in, help us get it winterized and stuff. And I don't, you know, other than that, they leave us alone. You know? And that's all I want. You know, if I have a real issue, come down and help me out. If not, leave me alone. And that's cool with me. And I'm on a lake, so I have nothing to complain about. But man, I was so stressed. And now I have to organize and try to work at the same time. I'm not doing it. I'm like, what? I have all this food and I'm starving, so I'm going to make a Spanish omelet, which is thinly sliced onion, potato, and then some eggs, and I forget what else. I have to look it up, but I'm going to put in some Tabasco or something. You layer in the onion, and I'm using this new Pampered Chef device to hold things. It's called a... Okay, focus. Hold and slice. So, and it works. So I put it in, and when I do an onion like this, I slice the one side up like so, and then even if I'm not using one of these devices, it's flat on the bottom. See, so when it will stand up more or less by itself. And so I'm just going to use a nonstick pan. This is an Admiral Craft brand that we got at the restaurant supply store in Winthrop on 202 several years ago, and it's held up pretty well. I burned something in it once, and so I got a little bit of oil that kind of glazed on there, but I didn't think it was like 35 bucks maybe. But compare that to the KitchenAid ones that we got for our wedding present. It was like 10 years ago, and they're just totally worn out, and I have to replace my saucepans, and I'm not sure if I want to go with non-stick again. I have one old stainless steel one, but these are good, and this handle actually comes off. If you get food stuck in there, you can pull it off, and silicone, so it, you know, doesn't get hot. And this trivet, I think I got it like, I don't know, Christmas tree shop for $2 several years ago. And I'm finding stuff that I never unpacked when we lived in the other place because I was like not intending on staying there. We ended up staying way too long past my sort of deadline. I only wanted to be there a year, and it didn't work out that way because it was just, you know, it was cheap. Heat was included, and heat's not included here, but I don't care. I will sell off my rock collection before I will go back into another situation like that. No. And there are some good landlords in Maine, but there's a lot of really bad ones. And you walk in a house, and if you walk in and it's already nasty looking, and they say, well, I ain't doing anything else to fix it, walk away. Because I've been in these nasty houses with plywood floors, bare floors, $800 a month plus heat. I'm like, no. At least I need a floor. And then there was a big rug rolled up in the living room, and he goes, you ain't using that rug, I'm putting it in the basement, you can't have it, but these floors are plywood and that's good solid. And I'm like, okay buddy, you're insane, bye bye now. And it was in like Brunswick. You know, but it's out in the country. And another one, the furnace, there was an old crappy furnace in the living room, drop ceilings, a dugout basement, a bathroom that was nastier than the nastiest outhouse you can imagine, with no sink, and it was dark in there, and then walls with bright blue paint marked up, and indoor-outdoor carpeting in the 2 tiny bedrooms. But yet it had a brand new garage next door with a loft. And I'm like, your garage is nicer than your house. You should rip the house down and build a house that's as good as the garage, man. $700 a month plus heat with the furnace right in the living room. No. No, 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 no. Homie, don't play that game. I do not do that stuff. I don't live in crappy places. This place is old, but it's not. It's solid. It's got a solid foundation, and there's like a dirt basement with these big doors that almost look like, you know, a boathouse, but it's on dry land and it's up above the water, so we're not going to get flooding here. But it's solid. The guy who built it was a mechanic or something, and he built it to last. And yeah, the floors do wobble and the counter is a little tilted, but when we had a bad storm the other day, this house didn't shake. That house in the other town from 1904, you would think, you know, they built them right, but the foundation had issues, and that's why they couldn't sell it. And they refused to maintain it. And these people are helping us. You know, we're working with them. They're working with us together to make this place nicer. And this guy was down here this morning and said he's taking care of stuff. And I'm like, cool, thanks, you know. And that's the second time he stopped by and said, I'm going to do this and this, and, you know, I got to get some help to put in the furnace, and, you know, and he knows people who are HVAC people, so it's going to be done right. And I'm excited. Brand new furnace, efficient, less money on oil, because we don't have natural gas here. We don't have, and the only other thing we could do is propane in the rural areas. So, and solar ain't happening here. As hard as too many trees and stuff, and too much money. People can't switch to solar because it's too much money, so we're stuck with oil right now. Anyway, so I'm heating up this olive oil. I get cranky when I'm hungry. And I'm going to separate out these onions and throw them in the pan, top them with the potatoes, and let that cook together. Or maybe I'll mix them up, whatever I feel like. And then I'll toss on some eggs, and then it makes an omelet. And you're supposed to get like a nice crust on the bottom. So let's see if I can do it. If not, I'm still going to eat it anyways because I'm starving, Marvin. Alright, well, I'm going to get cooking. Have a good one.